So as we transition on to the next panel, thank you very much. So this is kind of a unique panel. This will be a little different. And I really appreciate the OIS organizers sort of having the forethought to try to look from a different lens with this next 20 minutes. So I have an awesome set of panelists up here. They're all ASRS leaders, so the next 20 minutes you'll hear really the ASRS perspective from many different lenses, but a unifying perspective on what is happening in the landscape, where are we, how do we interact with you guys, what does that mean for patients, and where we're headed from an advocacy perspective. So Mike Lai, Reggie Sanders, Mike Jumper, Jill Blim, our CEO, and Christina Weng, all amazing contributors to the space, as you know them all. So we'll start with Mike Lai giving a presentation, and then we'll have two other presentations followed by a panel discussion. Thank you.
Good afternoon. So we'll start by talking about an issue that's affecting access to retinal therapy, which is the impact of good days underfunding on our management of retinal diseases. And I'll present data from both a survey of our ASRS members as well as analysis using a large EHR database. Good Days is a national nonprofit charitable organization which provides financial assistance to Medicare and Medicare Advantage patients to offset their co-insurance costs. At the end of 2024, this funding was depleted and remains inadequately replenished in this year. To assess its impact, ASRS sent out a 34-question electronic survey back in April, which was completed by more than 450 ASRS members representing a diverse practice setting and payer mix. Below are some of the high-level summaries from the survey. Overall, we found that 94% of the respondents reported a significant or moderate impact on their practice by the Good Days underfunding, with 78% reporting at least 25% of the Medicare-age patients are unable to receive their preferred therapy because of the underfunding. When asked, how has your treatment approach changed for patients who have lost copay assistance? The most common answers are switch to Avastin, provide a manufacturer sample, skip or postpone injections, or continue on-label therapy with 20% patient copay. But if you're a practicing retina specialist, you'll know none of those options are sustainable long-term. For instance, those who report switching to Avastin also report having to increase the injection frequency after the switch, and almost half, or 47%, are unable to obtain sufficient supply of Avastin. As a consequence, 61% observed vision loss due to this cost-related delay in treatment. 63% reported patients lost to follow-up due to financial hardship, and 77% noticed a disproportionate impact on lower-income communities. This slide shows that the percentage of patients who chose to delay, skip, or stop treatments altogether is significantly higher in zip codes with lower incomes compared to other zip codes. In addition, when asked, how has your treatment changed? Switch to Avastin was the most common response for managing wet AMD and diabetic macular edema patients. But discontinued treatment is the most common answer for managing geographic atrophy patients. These are all very interesting survey data, but we all know that survey results can be subject to bias and potential inaccuracies. So to verify, quantify these survey findings, we analyze very large-scale treatment data using a large electronic health database from Reginald. This is a database consists of EHR data from 340 retina specialists. We identified patients who had wet AMD, DME, geographic atrophy, receiving injections over an 18-month period. Over 280,000 injections were analyzed, and this is what we found. Well, first, we looked for patients who were caught in what's called an unsustainable treatment pattern, which was defined as exhibiting one or more of the following: received multiple samples of any anti-VEGF injection in a single eye, switched from on-label to off-label therapy, received samples of a previously reimbursed medication, or continued Avastin despite visual acuity decline. And visual acuity decline is flagged as patients whose vision after 3 injections was worse than their baseline. We found a substantial increase in this unsustainable care pattern across all diagnoses. For instance, we found a significant rise in the reliance of samples in previously treated eyes, particularly for patients with geographic atrophy. We also noted, just like the survey finding, a significant increase in the percentage of patients who were switched from on-label therapy to Avastin. And unfortunately, just like what our members reported, that switch is accompanied by an increase in the percentage of patients who experience worsening vision. And that applies to both wet AMD and diabetic macular edema patients. And just like we found, what we found in the survey, the increase in sustainable care as well as the switch to Avastin was more pronounced in lower income communities. So in summary, the underfunding of Good Days has caused widespread treatment disruptions for Medicare-aged patients, particularly in low-income areas. Our members who are practicing retina specialists report a growing dependence on less effective treatment alternatives, delays in care, and complete discontinuation of therapy. These reports are verified by analysis of real-world data using the Vestrum health database. And most concerning, we're able to verify that patient harm in the form of vision loss was reported by our members, has been confirmed by the analysis of data. We believe that copay assistance played an important role in access to retinal therapy, and there's an urgent need to restore funding. Thanks.
Mike, thank you. We'll move on and do the 3 presentations, then have a brief discussion. Mike, Jumper.
Thank you, Charlie, and thank you, organizers of this meeting. I was asked to speak on the initiatives and challenges that the ASRS faces. I'm a consultant and principal investigator to these companies. The first thing I wanted to mention is that the ASRS is different from any other organization within Retina, and it's because of this group of people. Our motto is to be all things Retina at the ASRS, and we are all things Retina because we have a team of people in policy, in legislative affairs that are experts in these areas to help push our agenda and make us all things Retina. And for those in the audience, if you're a company and you want to try to get something done, and it's in the patient's best interest, we will work very hard for you to help you forward your agenda. I think that's very important to know. The retina specialist word, that term, is something that we're using to try to use as a branding tool with the public. I want us to be thought of as retina specialists much like we understand what a cardiologist is. When somebody has a heart disease, they go and see a cardiologist. This is something that Reg Sanders had talked a lot about, and I'm a big believer in it. We've initiated outreach campaigns that have had millions of views, both to define what a retina specialist is and to show and link a retina specialist with retinal diseases. These have been targeted around the country and are very important to us. This has helped. We've been in discussions with our corporate partners, and they have begun using the term retina specialist. And you can see in some of the major companies and their major ads that retina specialist has been mentioned in audio and video in most of those campaigns. Our payers don't talk in terms of retina specialist or even words. They talk in terms of codes. And so the coding is very important, and we have had some success. Jill and her team has helped us to receive a taxonomy code, which is recognized by many commercial payers. But what the Holy Grail is to have a Medicare specialty code such that we are differentiated for quality payment programs, the physician compare program, that retina specialists can be found in the Medicare directory, and most importantly, that we're compared to our peers and not all of ophthalmology for utilization-based audits. For this reason, we have pursued and obtained a focused practice designation in retina, and that has been approved by the American Board of Medical Specialties. And right now, the ABO and the ASRS are working to implement this and get buy-in by our members so that we can move forward with the FPD. The last point has to do with what are the challenges in retina. And I think that we've talked a lot about the access to drugs, as Mike has eloquently pointed out. There's also an issue with access to the operating room, and this has an impact on all of you in this room. 70% of our members report a problem, and this limitation is with either OR time by a hospital or eliminating retina at their facility altogether. This is happening in both hospitals and ASCs. And they're doing it because of economic reasons. The per minute rate of reimbursement for a retina procedure is much lower than other procedures, including cataract, and for that reason, we're being pushed out. And this leads to what I would like to term the innovation paradox. So right now, we have better drugs. We have very good, incredible surgical platforms, many of which are being shown here at this meeting, with imaging devices that make us incredibly powerful in diagnosis. But all this greater expense puts more pressure on our patients who have a greater share of the cost without these copay assistance, the physicians who see us with more expense and lower reimbursement happening, despite having to buy more expensive equipment, despite having to go to our hospitals and ask to buy these incredibly expensive surgical platforms. And then the hospitals with these inadequate facility fees, it makes me wonder, how are these innovations going to be used? And I think that we need to work together, the ASRS and our partners out there, trying to help our patients together to allow access of these innovations that you guys have come up with. I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. And our last one, Jill Blim, our CEO. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I've been asked to talk about our advocacy agenda and hopefully suggest some solutions to the problems that have been discussed today. So our agenda covers a number of things, but I think the things that are most relevant to you in this room are assisting patients access branded drugs, seeking to restore, protect OR access, ensuring fair Part B drug physician reimbursement, seeking comprehensive Medicare payment reform, and reducing payer administrative hassles. I'm going to focus on the first three of those because I think they're the most relevant. So I think we've already talked about the fact that there's a true problem accessing for Medicare patients to access branded drugs with the diminished copay assistance funding. A lot of people think that, if we don't have enough copay assistance funding, the next best thing is to educate patients about what Medicare plan they should take up. And of course, if you are fortunate enough to enroll in original Medicare and get a supplement when you first join Medicare, that's probably the best solution, but it's also the most expensive. Most people take an MA plan initially because it's less expensive, they're not sick at the time, and they don't think they're ever going to need expensive treatments. Once you're enrolled in a Medicare Advantage plan, it's very difficult to go back to original Medicare and get a supplemental plan because all of a sudden you're subjected to underwriting and it becomes very expensive. So while it's great to talk about, just tell your patients to go back to original Medicare and get a supplemental plan, most of them can't afford that. So we've been trying to think out of the box because we are starting to believe that Good Days will no longer be fully funded. And we think the best solution is to seek a Medicare Part B drug out-of-pocket maximum. I think most of you probably are aware that Part D drugs just got that very thing, a maximum out-of-pocket. So once the patient spends $2,500 a year on Part D drugs, they don't have to pay any more. It's completely 100% covered. So this would be a solution that would help all of us in this room have Part B drugs. The other group that has been talking about is oncology, and they want to have a cancer carve-out. We don't think that's fair. We think that we should have all of the specialties that use Part B drugs to be included in this. So we've already gotten support from a number of medical specialty societies and some of our corporate sponsors. If this is something you're interested in, I hope you'll come and talk with us. It's going to help you, if you have a new drug coming to market, to be able to offer it to patients. One of the things we just voted on in our board meeting is we're going to be hiring a lobbying firm. We're taking the next step in building our coalition and taking this issue to the Hill. The next issue is restoring and protecting OR access. Mike has already covered what the issue is. We have to increase facility and physician reimbursement. It's simply inadequate. Our doctors are not able to do their surgeries often in hospitals anymore because they're closing the retina departments. ASCs are limiting block time for our members. There's no after-hour time available anymore. And our academic retina members are overwhelmed with the number of cases they're getting from the community. So we have a number of different solutions, but one of these is to work on getting a outpatient facility emergency modifier to offset added costs of emergency care. Because emergency treatments are a lot more expensive than your routine cataract surgery that you can just book one after another. So we feel that if we could get some extra payment that way, we could also be able to schedule our surgeries. The other thing is we're working very hard to stop the devaluing of surgery. This is just many of you probably have reviewed the Medicare physician fees schedule, and if you have, you'll realize that surgical procedures have taken a major hit. Retina procedures have taken anywhere from 11% hit to 15%. So everything in red here is something that's taken a hit. The fee schedule proposal favors everything that's office-based. So injection codes will go up, E&M codes will go up, and we think that this is going to be unfair for our members in the long run. It's already very expensive for members to leave the clinic because every time they go to the OR, they're losing money. So we need your help in making sure that surgery is well funded, and it'll help you, those of you that have surgical devices. So the last thing is we're interested in protecting the buy and bill model. We can talk about that another time. But if you're interested in a meeting with ASRS, please give me a call, email me. We need to work together to make sure there's fair reimbursement.
Thank you, Jill. Great, great presentations. Appreciate that. We don't have much time, but Reg Sanders, you thought a lot about these issues.
I have, actually. All of us have and been working on it. When you think about this, a lot of companies out here have technologies, superior technology that you want to have come to fruition, come to the market. But yet there's barriers to these different superior technologies. It could be, does it meet an unmet clinical need? Is it clunky to use in the clinic? You have the regulatory barrier with the FDA. You're all seeking FDA approval. But the biggest ones are cultural resistance, getting us to do something that as physicians that we're not willing to do, and the financial barriers. And what Mike and Jill have talked about very clearly and lucidly are those financial barriers that don't ever go away, and they evolve over time, and we have to continue to think about it and think of ways to overcome that barrier.
Thank you. Maybe just in closing, I'll try to summarize what we covered. I think our short summary is we view this as an ecosystem that we're all in this for the same reason, which is our patients. We want them to be able to access what you're developing. We see things you're developing that are amazing, and we want to be able to apply them. Please let us help you get things approved and used. Talk to us earlier so that we can help you figure out that path. Thank you.
Thank you.